I didn't break it, I promise.
All right. Hey, Leslie. And I see Natalie and Kim, but their cameras aren't on yet. I know we're going to be missing Councilmember Bauer tonight. So we are just looking for Councilmember Moulton.
Okay, we're good.
And I see Councilmember Moulton is here. So Councilmember Arroyo, do you want to turn your camera on? Are you around?
I'm here. Just give me a second. You can go ahead and start. I'll be turning it on in just a sec.
Alrighty. So we'll go ahead and start with the, first I'll welcome you all to the October 19th, is that what this is? Meeting of the Eureka City Council. And we will go ahead and start with roll call, please.
Mayor Seaman?
Here.
Councilmember Castellano?
Here.
Councilmember Moulton?
I'm here.
Councilmember Bauer is absent tonight. Councilmember Arroyo?
I'm here.
Councilmember Burgell?
Here.
All right. Well, it's good to see you all. It feels like forever not having a closed session beforehand. Makes it feel like it's been so long since I've been with you guys. We are going to start, please, with the Pledge of Allegiance. Would you please join me? This is so bizarre. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. And we will move into the mayor's announcements. And I will surprise assign proclamations to folks. I like to share them. I could just read them all myself, and I think they're all so important. But Leslie, you have been doing a lot of work with housing, and we've been talking a lot about making sure that we have our aging population housed appropriately. So why don't I give you the National Long-Term Care Residents' Rights Month proclamation?
Sure thing. Okay. This is the City of Eureka's proclamation in recognition of National Long-Term Care Residents' Rights Month as October 2021, reclaiming my rights, my home, my life. Whereas there are 1.3 million individuals living in 15,600 nursing homes and over 800,000 individuals living in 28,900 assisted living residential care facilities in the U.S., and whereas the Federal Nursing Home Reform Act of 1987 guarantees residents their individual rights in order to promote and maintain their dignity and autonomy, and whereas all residents should be aware of their rights so they may be empowered to live with dignity and self-determination, and whereas we wish to honor and celebrate these citizens, to recognize their rich individuality, and to reaffirm their right to vote and participate politically, including the right to have a say in their care. And whereas individuals and groups across the country will be celebrating Residents' Rights Month with the theme, Reclaiming My Rights, My Home, My Life, to highlight the need for residents' rights to be recognized, recovered, and reasserted. The theme emphasizes the recognition of the long-term care facility as the resident's home and the importance of residents reclaiming their own lives. Now, therefore, I, Leslie Castellano, on behalf of Mayor Susan Seaman and the Eureka City Council, do hereby proclaim October 2021 as National Long-Term Care Residents' Rights Month in the city of Eureka, and encourage all citizens to join me in these important observances.
This is actually a topic that is really important to me, and I have been doing a lot of work with Maggie Craft, or Agency One on Aging. And tonight, Leanne Langston is here to accept the proclamations. Do you have some things to say, Leanne?
Hi, thank you so much for letting me be on your platform today. And I just want to accept this proclamation for all the residents in Humboldt and Belmore County. And I continue to advocate for their rights on a daily basis. Thanks again so much.
Thank you. Thank you for the important work that you're doing. Yay! Our next proclamation is Community Planning Month, and I will ask Councilmember Arroyo, since I'm looking straight at you, would you do the honors of reading Community Planning Month for us?
I'd be happy to, and this is appropriate since I'm a planner.
That also crossed my mind.
So this is in recognition of Community Planning Month, October 2021. Whereas change is constant and affects all cities, towns, suburbs, counties, rural areas, regions, and communities. And whereas community planning and plans can help manage this change in a way that provides better choices for how people work and live. And whereas community planning provides an opportunity for all residents to be meaningfully involved in making choices that determine the future of their community. And whereas the full benefits of planning require public officials and citizens who understand, support, and demand excellence in planning and plan implementation. And whereas the month of October is designated as National Community Planning Month throughout the United States and its territories. And whereas the celebration of National Community Planning Month provides an opportunity to publicly recognize the participation and dedication of the members of planning and zoning boards and other citizen planners who have contributed their time and expertise to the improvement of Eureka. And whereas the celebration of National Community Planning Month provides an opportunity to publicly recognize the many valuable contributions made by our professional community and city planners in the city of Eureka, and extend our gratitude for the continued commitment to public service by these professionals. Now, therefore, I, Natalie Arroyo, on behalf of the Eureka City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of October as Community Planning Month throughout the city of Eureka, and recognize the dedicated staff of Eureka's Development Services Department and the Eureka Planning Commission.
Yay.
And do we have someone here to receive this?
I was going to ask, did Principal Planner Getz, did you reach her? Is she going to be here today?
Here.
All right. There you are. Good to see you. I yelled it. I'm sorry. I got so excited to see you. Thank you for all the good work you guys are doing. Would you like to accept or say anything?
Sure. On behalf of the Development Services Planning staff, thank you very much. Appreciate the proclamation. And I just have to share that I think that all of us enjoy having a hand in shaping the city for all of us.
Thank you very much. Yay. Well, there's certainly a lot of work to be done in that area, which is why we have you at every meeting talking about the good, important things that you're working on. So, all right. I have just a couple of quick things that I wanted to mention, and then we will move on to presentations. I'll start by talking about the conference again that I'm working on. It will be starting, it's the Redwood Region Economic Summit, a Redwood Coast Region Economic Summit. And we are working on a 2-day conference that is bringing together Del Norte, Mendocino, and Humboldt County to talk about where our shared sort of economic needs are, where our opportunities and challenges are, to build relationships and to develop a stronger region. It's going to be really exciting. We have like 220 people registered so far. We have a group of emerging leaders who are going to do some extra work and actually move into year and build kind of peer relationships so that we can really grow this this regional bond so that we can do bigger and more effective projects. Redwood Coast Region has been recognized. Finally, when we were working with the Regions Rising Initiative with the state of California. At first, they called us North State, and they just included everybody north of Sacramento. And we really, really fought to say, no, we are different. The Redwood Coast region has a different economy. We have different needs. And that is going to lead me into an ask by consensus. As you know, there's a lot of redistricting going on, and we're looking at a statewide redistricting. And there's some consideration of actually changing our region so that it's bound to the east rather than to the coast. And I can only do this by consensus, and we can't have a discussion about it. But I'm feeling like we might all be in agreement to send a letter to the redistricting committee that we would like to avoid that option. So if I can get consensus to direct staff to do that. Thank you. Do we need to do an official vote, or does that work, Pam?
By consensus, that's perfect. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, guys. So there you go. We are going to continue to build great relationships with our whole region. And thank you for trying to keep us all in the same political district at the same time. And that is really all I have to talk about today, because the conference is really all I have thought about for the past several weeks. So I'm really excited also to hear our presentation. I always love to hear from Cassandra Hesseltine from the Humboldt County Belmore Film Commission. The city does support the Film Commission, and I just thought it's always important to remember how much they do for us and for our economy, speaking of our economy. So Cassandra, welcome.
Okay, so I am gonna share my screen here for you. Thanks for having me today, everybody. Greatly appreciate it. I will rush through my presentation to just give you enough news of what we're doing and what we've been up to, but try not to take up your time because you guys do a lot of important work. So I wanna make sure to give you that. Now, for some reason, I don't see my arrows, so that's gonna, oh, there they are. That was gonna slow it down, wasn't it? All right, so just in case anybody doesn't remember or realize or know what we do, the Film Commission is the liaison between filmmakers and the county or counties that I represent. We market for the area for filming. We assist productions. So that includes everything from scouting and help with locations, permits, vendors, crew, assisting locals, and a whole bunch more. But then we also help promote film tourism, which sometimes film tourism can often outweigh the amount of money that actually comes in from filming. And I'm in a Cinemposium workshop for the past today and tomorrow and Thursday, so for 3 days. And one of today's focus was film tourism, so I learned some new things. So it was really great. And we are required to offer all of that free of charge to productions. So we are grateful for the funding that City of Eureka contributes to the nonprofit. So we had our 10-year anniversary last year, but during COVID. So we didn't get to really celebrate like we would have. So actually the Film Commission's been around longer than that. I had my 10-year anniversary, I should say, and in its current form, as well as it being a nonprofit about the same time as when I joined on board. So in that 10 years, we were able to be part of 74 scouts, which brings in money, as well as 222 filming projects, which brought in an estimated 11 million in the region, 9 of that in Humboldt County. And then after you add the multiplier effect, that's more like 32 million that the community felt from the dollars they spend after hours, going to dinner, having days off, the money circulating within the economy before it leaves. And again, this is outside money coming into our area. And just so that people sometimes ask me, well, what's the return on investment? Originally in 2010 of October, when I first came on, we had Humboldt County and City of Arcata, and we were funded at $64,000 for the year. We were able to add City of Eureka and other funders, so that was fantastic. And we got up to $235,000, but due to COVID, we had to drop down some. And then, so what we've operated off of is 1.4 million in that 10 years that we been funded. So as a reminder, the impact has been 11 million direct dollars and 32 indirect million, and we've operated off 1.4 million. So it's a good return on investment. And we had a whole bunch of accomplishments, and rather reading all of those to you, I will just highlight the few that are pretty significant for us. Besides helping productions, we did a lot more. Created a whole bunch of different events and activities. We also held the first film fam tour, which we actually will be holding a second one if we can work out some of the details. We've been granted from Headwaters the funding for it. We've just got to try to figure out some important aspects of it that are holding us up right now. And I was also, besides being treasurer for FLIX, which is the group for the whole state of California of all the film commissions, I was also for 3.5 years president, and I'm now immediate past president. I, during the pandemic, have completed being an international certified film commissioner. That's my dog sneezing over there. She probably wants out of the office. And we were, right before COVID happened, we were one of 5 finalists for Outstanding Film Office, as I believe you guys gave us a proclamation for that, I remember correctly. And then I also recently was asked to speak on a panel and actually moderate the panel for the Emmys. So it wasn't the Emmy show, but behind the scenes, they do a lot of classes. And so I represented California and moderated a panel for why you should film in California. So that was pretty exciting. During the pandemic, our job became even way more than 24/7 as it is right now, but it became a lot even bigger than that. We every production had to go through us. They couldn't go through any of the different agencies, 15 different agencies, whether it was federal, state, county, city, whatever. And they had to go through us in order to make sure that they were going through the appropriate guidelines for COVID and to make sure that everybody was safe. So anybody entering the community was safe. And then while they were here, they were safe, and that they made sure that our locals were safe. And so I'm proud to say that with all the productions that we did do during that time frame, there was only one gentleman after being here for 3 months came down with COVID. So he actually caught it from someone here versus nobody brought COVID in from out of the area during filming. So very, very happy about that. It definitely upped the amount of work we did. And it's changed a little bit now that there are vaccines, and the state of California put out guidelines. Now everybody is following those guidelines. We don't have to enforce them as much because they're already doing it versus us having to teach and enforce it when it was all first being created. And this is all with both public health in Humboldt and Belmore County. So the approval of everything from them. So what did we do last fiscal year? Last fiscal year, I show Humboldt and Belmore because it also shows you it's good proportion, because that way people understand like how much time do we kind of spend and what dollars are going to each county. And so bulk of our budget comes from Humboldt County, and a bulk of the filming happens more in Humboldt County. We have more locations, so they tend to come here. So you can see that the direct dollars that we were able to do during a pandemic was 2.3 million. And that was amazing to be able to do direct dollars that way. And indirectly, it's more like 6.9 million for the region for the year after you add the multiplier. So it was incredible to be able to pull that off, because we've had, years where it's only been a couple 100,000 when there was no pandemic, so you can imagine the amount of work it took to have that money. And one of the movies that did happen, which is an Apple TV movie, it should be coming out, sooner than later. I am still waiting on the exact dates. Is The Sky Is Everywhere, and it filmed throughout Humboldt County. And here you see pictures of them in Old Town, and where they painted the gazebo fencing blue and then had to paint it back to black. And it was really fun. So it'll be really fun. It's a musical scene. They end the movie, can't tell you all the details, but they end the movie in this great way, you know, on the bay. There's just a lot. The whole entire movie takes place here. So with their spending of the 2.1 million that they did for this feature film, this is a nice little breakdown that shows you kind of where some of the money goes. You know, $750,000 went into lodging. You know, they had location fees, local background, over 500 actors were in it. Local crew, local vendors, was almost $500,000. So it's just really kind of shows you how what kind of money goes where when we do have filming in the area, something like this. So then what else we did during some of our downtime when we did slow down and shut down a little bit during winter when our numbers were pretty strong last year, we redid our website and merged Humboldt and Belmore counties together so that all our resources are now in one place and it's much easier to navigate. So this kind of gives you a look of what it looks like now. We updated it and it's really not a lot more user-friendly and very slick. We also made sure that it was accessible. We also included a series called Meet the Expert. We have a lot of experts that have now live here or we're just really good friends with out of the area. For instance, we have, you know, Lori, who used to work on Saturday Night Live, and her husband, JP, live here. So we have this group of people that came together and they were willing to let us do these interviews with them about what it's like to work in that position, and then how would someone locally here get into the industry, and what do they need to know when productions do come here and they want to work in those departments. So we have this series on YouTube. We passed it on to the Office of Education for Humboldt County, to pass on to the high schools, junior high, you know, the JC, the college, so anybody can use it for, you know, to learn for workforce. And currently, so that was a lot of what we did last year. Currently, we, this year, we've had already 6 shoots in Humboldt County. Some of them I can't tell you about yet, so that's why they're untitled on there. But the couple of big things, and one of the big things here was we had Vogue come in and they did Lorde. They featured her on the front, as well as there was a whole spread inside. So it was down in Shelter Cove. So you could see to the left, this is the picture of her that was in Vogue magazine. And to the right is a picture where I'm standing and taking the photograph. And so it's fun to just kind of see the difference between my photography and theirs, but but also just to see the crew and to see what it looks like, you know, to us, and then to see the magic of what they do on screen, and that you can't tell some guy's holding her dress up, you know, and has it up with the string and stuff. And she was very lovely, and it was really incredible that they did that. And we had a great locals that worked on it. Rowdy Kelly, the location manager. We had a catering company down in Shelter Cove, you know, the hotel down there. They just really represented us well. And probably all of you know about this one. So I don't know if we have time, I'll play a little bit of it, but this is the trailer that has come out for The Craftsman on the Blue Ox, which is very exciting. Anybody knows that series episodic television brings in tourism.
We're not hearing the audio though.
Oh, you're not? Okay, I apologize for that.
I hate when that happens. If we can make the audio work though, I think we should watch it. I was going to ask if you would show it anyway.
I have it up on mine. So it's up on me and I can hear it, but you guys can't hear it, huh? Let me see. If we can't do it, I do have it also posted on our Facebook page. It is on there, but this is lovely to do. Hang on one second. Let me just see if I can.
Wonder it would be with the way that you share your screen, where you're sharing your screen, there's an option to also share your audio.
I think you have to stop sharing and reshare and then select that audio button on the lower left.
Okay, let's try this.
We've had this a few times. You're not alone.
Hear it now?
To get really good and really competent at anything takes time. Being self-taught, you know, you only know what you know, period. This is my higher education, was this building right here. You see all the fancy decorative work? I did all that. I mean, it sounds like I'm blowing my own horn. Geez, that's terrible. I shouldn't be doing that. It took a lot of time to become a competent woodworker. You see the tool bounce? So I know I'm not round yet. I mean years, really years. And there's round. The minute I stop learning, you can start shoveling the dirt in on top of me, because it's over. Oh, we were making. My name is Eric Hollenbeck. My family and I run Blue Ox Millworks in Eureka, California. Is it spelled right? We take forgotten treasures. What I will do is file this smooth here. Perhaps a little detail right here. We can do this. And give them new life. To duplicate any historic work, it has to be identical to what it was before. It can't be close. It has to be right.
Yeah, good.
I still got it. I started working in the woods when I was 16. To me, there's nothing more spiritual than trees. This is the signing of the Declaration of Independence. And from there on back, a whole lot of stuff happened. Being born and raised right here, we have helped in the community creating the Veterans Program, you know, starting a school for at-risk students. These are the books that our high school kids make every year. They print their own bio pages, and they do it on that letterpress. So this is a big deal to them, taking them into becoming productive craftsmen themselves. Our success that we have is that we stayed fluid when life opened new doors. What's the next adventure? What's the next big thing we're gonna do?
If that does not warm your heart, I do not know what will. I mean, I'm verklempt personally in my eyes. I am honored because that crew is amazing. It's a tiny little crew, barely a dozen people. They've come up twice now. They came up once to shoot the initial part to see if they could gain the series. And then now they've come back to start shooting the series. When they were first doing it, people weren't vaccinated yet. And so they asked me, they were trying to get people, they knew I was tested regularly because we had a lot of filming happening. So they asked me to bring in a treasure because they were just trying to create the pilot. So I'm in there for a second in this trailer, but there'll be an episode where I'm in, and of course, for conflict of interest and all of that, I've asked them not to pay me or anything like that, but just did them a favor because they needed people who they knew were COVID-free at the time, just to help make the series. So they did fix something for me, which I'm honored because both of them are just lovely, lovely people. So I'm really happy for them. It couldn't have happened to a nicer couple. And the show just, I think, is showcasing the best of Eureka. So it's really great. One of the other things that we were able to do during our downtime, and now we've actually launched, it still isn't out yet for Droids, but it will be shortly. It is an app. We have looked into it. It looks like we are the first to make an app of this kind in California. There is like a world one that's a little bit slightly different that they haven't continued fleshing out, but we are the only film commission office right now in California that's made one of these. And this app is basically our map of the movies, and it's an interactive self-guided tour that you can go. It takes you to the places, it gives you the direction, information about it. You can look at the trailer on YouTube. You can go on IMDb and read all about it. You can find out where the marker is. And we hope to add a whole bunch of other bells and whistles to it as well, make some type of activity besides that. Sorry, my dog is moaning that she wants out of the office. She's bored of this presentation already. And eventually it'll have voiceover and a lot more other things to it, and maybe some type of game aspect of it that we can do with it. But film tourism, again, is huge. And it's expected to come back with a vengeance, once a lot of the borders have opened up, and now that Europe will be able to start flying here in November. So And it's all outside. So that's what's lovely about this kind of activity is we're having people go outside, you know, and not necessarily congregate indoors right now. So yeah, we really anticipate, we had over 200,000 views of when we had the map just on our website, as well as on Google Maps and then printed versions. And so now with the app, we are anticipating a lot more activity with it. So we're very excited about it. And we do all of this with a staff of 2 board members. We have 7 board members currently. We have interns and volunteers and advisors that help us out and give us lots of advice, what to do when we get stuck, and community partners. And that's how we get all this done. There you go. Oh, I have one more thing. I can't tell you anything about it, but I can tell you that March of 2019, we were about to have the biggest project I will have ever worked on. And then obviously, you know, this small little pandemic thing happened. I wondered if they were going to come back. We got the phone call last week. They are indeed right now creating the budget, putting it back together to come here, shoot the entire feature film. It's a studio movie. I cannot tell you when, who, what, where, but it will be the biggest thing I've ever worked on. And the average cost for a studio feature film is $65 million. So this could be anywhere in the low ball from 20 million to 100 million, you know, of the entire thing shot here. So it will be a lot different than when we had indie feature films shot here, the entire ones, because it was bringing a couple million, as you saw. But a studio feature is a lot different. We haven't had that in the past 10 years. So.
Excellent. Does anybody have any questions for Cassandra? For Commissioner Hesseltine?
Why, thank you, Mayor.
Leslie? I mean, just Councilmember Castellano.
Well, I just want to say I've been to almost every single site on Map of the Movies.
Yay!
And it's really fun. You know, it's been a great, one of my artist friends is doing a big project based on Map of the Movies, and it's just a great resource. So thanks for putting that together. And the new app is wonderful because it's much easier to find the spots. And we went up, you know, to Del Norte and found the ET marker. That was a big deal for us. Anyway, and there's, you know, little bits of history with the app. So thanks for all of that work, and I'm excited to find out about what's to come.
Thank you. And yes, I do owe you an apology for not being able to attend that meeting with your artist friend. I believe that my deputy director got to do it. I forget what it was, but I remember I was home in bed sick with something, but I don't remember what it was I was sick with at the time. But yeah, so I do apologize that I didn't get to make that meeting. So if they have any more questions, please have them reach out again to us.
I seem to recall that I think I took that ET marker out to Del Norte when we were passing out the plaques places, or some movie things out there.
Yeah, it seems like something. Yeah.
Councilmember Arroyo.
Is there any connection between the Film Commission and like HSU students in film? Anything like it? I know you were talking about the opportunity for students, sort of. Well, yeah. Could you talk about student learning?
Yeah, absolutely. So often, obviously not the past year and a half, but often I am called into one of the film classes. You know, it'll vary depending on instructors, but I often get called in to lecture to them, give them, you know, a day in the life of the film commissioner, what it's like to work in the film industry. A lot of times the film festival class will have me come in. Just a minute, you'll be okay. And they, so I often will lecture, and then they CR as well as HSU, and that's how I've received a lot of interns / volunteers that have come into our office. And then from there, a lot of those ones, if they really show us a good work ethic, we then recommend them to go on to work on projects. So we've had students that have, like Anival, who was at CR, then went to HSU. He graduated and he worked on Bird Box with Sandra Bullock, and A Wrinkle in Time, and a Brad Pitt shoot. I mean, he had, I don't know, like 8 major shoots under his belt by the time he graduated college, which was, you know, amazing for Northern California, not to be in LA and have that kind of resume. So yes, we do definitely do that. And we make sure that they either get some type of credit or if they're a volunteer, then they get some type of bonus thing from working so hard in our office. And we help them out with that. Yeah. And give referrals and the whole bit and do, you know, training with them.
Any other questions from council? All right.
I have a question, actually. There's two things. One is I was wondering who we should be talking to about all the murals, because we'd love to have all the murals be on our website and be featured as a place to film. So I don't know who is working in that department would know all the murals.
I think
that would be project manager, economic development manager, Swan Asbury.
Oh, it would be Swan. Okay. Thank you.
Or I'm sure Leslie could help you out too when you guys talk about ET.
All right. And then my other question for you is also is that you guys are in charge of the visitor center now, right? Is that correct, with Christine? Because we were thinking that it'd be great to do a display to encourage more film tourism with maybe some of our, like we have the Swiss Army Man boat that, you know, from when it filmed here. We have different paraphernalia and things like that that have been given to us from different filming.
I think that's a great idea. And yes, Christine would be the contact for that, Tyson.
Okay. Great.
Economic Development Coordinator, Tyson, I should say. And I think
you.
it would be also a good idea because we now operate the gift shop at the zoo, and that's clearly getting a lot of visitors, that we could maybe work out something there. And that would be Community Services Director Wood that you would like to speak to for that.
Okay, great.
All right.
Thank you.
Anything else before we move on from our reports? Councilmember Burgell.
I just want to say thank you, Cassandra. I just appreciate all the work that you do, and it's just been amazing. And I love the idea of the zoo because it's right next to one of the plaques there, so it could be a nice tie-in. Anyway, thank you so much.
It's a nice way to remind us that arts and culture is broad and significantly impacts our economy. So from our individual artists to major motion pictures, and also just, it's a lot of fun. So thank you so much, and have a good evening, Cassandra.
Thank you. You too. Take care, everybody.
And now we will move on to public comments. So if you had a comment about the presentation or anything else that is not on the agenda, now is the time. I see Latanya has her hand raised, so we will start with you.
Hi, I sent an email to Pam, and that's just some of the items. And regarding the presentation by Cassandra, I don't know her last name. One question that I have is, what is film tourism telling you?
What is film tourism telling you, or what is film tourism?
No, what is film tourism telling her and people? What does it tell you? I mean, it tells you what does it tell you? Please help me understand.
You could probably reach out to the Film Commission and ask her that. She's not on the call anymore, so.
I know.
And it's not, and remember, this is a time for comments, and then, all right. Do you have anything else?
No.
All right. Do we have any other public comments? We have Tucker Noir.
Hi, sorry, my name is actually Noelle. It's I have my I'm logged in the wrong Zoom.
That's okay.
Thanks. I work in Eureka, and I'm just wanted to come in and say that I'm concerned about not having other plans for parking now that parking has been is no longer available now on Railroad, Felt, Del Norte Street, and I think it's Truesdale. And so I'm just wanting to verbalize that and hoping that we can maybe put a lot of energy into finding some solutions. I'm really concerned about where people are going to go and where that's going to drive people to. I'm really hoping that would be something that would be on the very forefront of our minds as it's getting colder and wetter. Yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Samantha Sweeney.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, my name is Samantha and I'm a resident here in Eureka. I'm a social worker and I've been doing volunteer outreach in the community for the last 4 years. And I'm here also to speak to my concern about the recently passed resolution, which implements further overnight parking restrictions. Last year, I interned with Eureka City Schools for my master's in social work, and I worked at the Marshall Family Resource Center. I did case management with countless homeless families and youth living in their cars and RVs, all while trying just to get to work and school. And I'm concerned that there's a lack of awareness of who this resolution and other parking ordinances will actually affect. For the people that are interested in data, research nerds such as myself, the Humboldt County Office of Education reports that there was a 3.4% increase of enrolled students who report being homeless from the 2013-2014 school year to the 2017-2018 school year. 1,571 students identified as homeless in our county just in the 2017-2018 school year. And over 50% of those students reported living in the Eureka area. So that's a lot of students in our city who are facing some sort of homelessness. This data is easily accessible on the HCOE site. Homelessness has lots of faces, and unfortunately, many of our families are struggling. It's the single mom who works at Winco and the 17-year-old LGBTQ kid who's just trying to graduate high school. Homelessness is caused by a lack of affordable housing options, and poverty is caused by systemic inequity and compounded barriers to opportunity. So these are issues that are bigger than individual choices. Homelessness and poverty are rising issues in every city in our country, and it's getting harder just to survive. So I think we need to ask ourselves why these issues are the way they are, and what sense of responsibility as a community and as a city council do we hold towards all of our neighbors, not just business owners and property owners. The resolution doesn't really get to the root of the problem. There are existing programs that have put in years of collaboration and expertise into creating solutions that are creative and multidisciplinary and dynamic. So I'm asking the city council to address these issues at their roots and to please prioritize adopting a safe parking program for our already marginalized community members. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Brisa.
Hi.
Hello.
How's everyone doing? Thanks for letting me comment. Sorry, my dogs are barking.
It's very excited to be on the city council call.
I also wanted to comment about the safe parking program. I read that there is like $600,000 budget to start a safe parking program, but there hasn't been a single place opened up, and I just wonder like what happened to that money, like where did that go, because that was for 2020 and nothing opened up except for just like one temporary parking lot at the beginning of COVID. So yeah, I'm just like, what happened to all that money? That's a lot of money, and nothing opened up for people to be safe at. Nothing was offered at all. But instead, actually what's happening is people are actually just getting more displaced from like the only safe parking that they have access to. And none of those people like were warned at all. And it just seems like a bit irresponsible, and I'm just like have this growing interest of like looking into these things way more, because there's a lot of things that happen in this small town that a lot of residents don't know about. So yeah, just like really like wondering like how can this information be provided to the people that it's affecting, because the only people that this is like affecting negatively are people who are already vulnerable on the street, and like why, there are decisions being made by people who are disconnected to that world, decision making for the people, for the people living here in Arcata. This is people's home. Why are decisions being made for people and they're not even like, I just wonder, like, why the people who are living on the street aren't being talked to about what they need, how we can work through this crisis, and how we can make things better for everyone. It just seems like I just want resolution. I want like healing and like a better space all the time. So these are just the questions that I pose, like filtered through that. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. Amber Miller.
Hello, my name is Amber from Hill. I just wanted to reiterate concerns about the parking situation and, not looking for alternatives, really removing this like very baseline access, and not really providing anything else. So I think others have said plenty, but I just wanted to add another voice. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Caroline Griffith.
Hello, good evening. I also just briefly wanted to touch on the safe parking issue. I know after the last meeting, a few of the council members had expressed interest in moving forward and figuring out some sort of safe parking program for the city of Eureka. And I was looking at the Arcata City Council agenda for their meeting tomorrow, and they're actually going to be getting an update about their safe parking program. And so it's really seemed like a good opportunity to see what they're doing and collaborate. I know oftentimes with things like this, like different municipalities will be like, well, this is a regional problem. We can't just deal with this because this is a regional problem. But it looks like different municipalities within the region are working on it, and it's a good opportunity to collaborate and learn from each other and move forward. So I really appreciate that there was interest in moving forward with this, and I look forward to seeing how it goes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ella Heckert.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
Great. So yeah, I just wanted to add on to what the last few people have been saying, which is all really great. Also commenting on the safe parking issue. And something that's been on my mind is what exactly are you doing to create safer parking areas for the local unhoused neighbors? Do you have a detailed plan informed by community input as well as the perspectives of local unhoused people? And have you informed the community to be displaced of these plans? If not, using safety as a reason to displace people who are already extremely vulnerable seems pretty performative and inevitably harmful. And adding on to that, COVID is still very much a real threat, and COVID disproportionately affects unhoused people, and it's also cut, shelter capacity substantially. There's already just a lot less resources available to people right now. So taking away resources that exist seems really unfair, especially when, I fully support the idea of creating more safe parking areas, but it seems irresponsible to take away existing resources before those new, safer resources are in place. And right now I have a really awesome job where I'm working in Eureka at an organization that serves unhoused people, and it was really sad today at work hearing so many people expressing their concern and really feelings of dread over this upcoming ordinance that would reduce the amount of overnight parking available. And so many people were expressing that they felt that this was just more punishment to the local unhoused community, which was really hard to hear. And people saying that they feared that they would feel less safe, actually. So yeah, just hearing people's voices who are living that experience saying that they feel less safe and that they feel fear for their safety, as well as, that of their family and people that they're staying with. it seems counterintuitive to the idea of creating more safe parking areas, which I fully support. And, something that like I think would be awesome would be making existing parking areas safer, like maybe adding more public restrooms to existing parking areas, or adding more trash cans if people feel like those areas need to be beautified. There's just so much more that we can do besides cutting the few resources that do exist for people. Anyways, thank you very much for listening to me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Jasmine.
Hello, I'm also calling in regards to the parking resolution. The resolution that was passed on October 5th targets people with the least available options to them. I imagine that this resolution mostly affects people who don't qualify for the housing opportunities that the city has to offer. I work with people experiencing homelessness in Eureka. And what I hear from people is that resolutions like this send a harsh message that people who are homeless do not deserve to live in Eureka, as though it were a personal failing to be homeless, instead of the reality that we are in the middle of a housing crisis and COVID. I'm encouraging the council to create safe parking options for people in Eureka before pushing them around town with no other options. Having another option for people would send the message that people experiencing homelessness are more than just an eyesore to Eureka, and that they deserve to be here just as much as the rest of us do. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Latanya Jacob.
Hi. I want to make sure I'm understanding what the communication is going with what it's saying, what people are talking about, parking, or is that just something else? I sense, maybe it's because my past experience, that there's something more here. Because if there's housing, foreclosure, there's a lot of places that supposedly online it's got foreclosure. So if there's a problem with housing, where are those people who abandoned their home? And how come no one is looking at, I don't know, using those as suggestions for housing? That's one thing. And in terms of whether or not who is homeless, why they're homeless, I guess, yeah, I need to understand. There's a reason why people become homeless. If you take away their income, they're not going to be able to support themselves. And if they're educated and able to work, but yet, I don't know, maybe someone is trying to, I don't know, I've never been in, jail because of being sentenced to jail time. No, jail for shelter, yes. But jail for sentence, for jail time, committing a crime, no, not that I'm aware of. So I don't know what it means to be in a jail, prison. And like, what happens to you? You lose your rights? So if you lose your rights and you can't work, then you're going to be homeless. And do we know why they lost their rights? Did they really commit the crime, or were they framed? That's what I want to know. What's going on? What is this place, Eureka? I said, I don't know. I'm here because a family member was coming here, and I'm like, I need to see where you are, how you're living, okay? Because what I see is scaring me, and I need to see how you are living, if you're okay. Like any parent, you want to make sure that your family member is doing okay.
Thank you. Colin Fisk.
Hi, Mayor Seaman, council members. So yeah, you all know I'm no fan of free parking, but I did want to reiterate that I don't think that parking enforcement is an appropriate response to the problems of poverty. And to clarify, just make it clear that we do support, as long as people are living in their vehicles, we do support safe parking programs. And I think that the city should be developing a robust program. Thank you.
Thank you. And I wanted to give everybody a chance to talk and let everybody know that staff will be coming back with something for the council to discuss a parking program in the next couple of meetings. That's right, Director Slattery, right?
We are researching, excuse me, hello, Mayor and Council. We are researching other programs right now and also trying to do what one of the public speakers spoke about is partner with other government agencies in our area and come up with something that we can all support, and also looking at successful programs throughout the state of California. So when this was brought to staff's attention, we said we'd bring something back before the end of the year, which would mean within the next 4 meetings, but we will definitely try and expedite that and make sure that we get it to you guys as soon as possible.
Thank you very much. Just wanted everybody to know that it's certainly not off our radar or our plate. So that is public comment, and we will move on to our next item. We don't have any public hearings today, so we're going to go to the consent calendar. I have not heard of anybody wanting to pull anything. Do I have a motion to approve? Or
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I'll second.
Thank you very much. Any discussion on it? All right, we can go ahead and take a roll call vote on that.
Councilmember Castellano?
Aye.
Councilmember Moulton?
Aye.
Councilmember Arroyo?
Aye.
Councilmember Bauer is absent. Councilmember Burgell?
Yes.
4 yes votes. Councilmember Bauer is absent. Motion carries.
Thank you very much. We are going to move on to the next item, which is ordinances and resolutions. And at this time, I'm going to pass the meeting over to Mayor Pro Tem Burgell and recuse myself. So put me in the dark room and let me know when I need to come back.
Thank you, Mayor. So let's see, Kristen Raymond, Housing Coordinator, you'll be doing this report. Thanks.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Pro Tem and City Council members. I come before you tonight with this item asking to convert one of the city loans to a grant. Over the past 6 months, I have been working with city staff at Housing Community Development, and staff at Northern California Indian Development Council in hopes to make this item a reality. With me this evening, I have staff from NCIDC who will be taking it from here. Please welcome Greg and Chris from NCIDC.
Thank you very much to the council and to the staff. We appreciate the opportunity to talk to you about the Carson Block Building and Northern California Indian Development Council and the request we have in front of you.
Welcome.
Thank you. There is a letter that's been provided to the council, and I wanted to give you a thumbnail sketch of some of the history of the Carson Block Building and an idea of how we got to where we are today. The Carson Block Building was purchased by NCIDC many decades ago, and from a partnership of local folks. And it was in sad shape when it was purchased. It was not seismically retrofit, was not ADA accessed. The entire building had been stuccoed. A historic building had been severely impacted by both neglect and by modernization and a lack of appreciation for historic structures. And when NCIDC bought the building, we embarked on a multi-decade process of trying to come up with a process to meet multiple objectives, which included doing the seismic retrofit, which was necessary for public safety and health, restoration of the historic significance of this jewel, this really crowning jewel of the Old Town area, and the ability to modernize it and make it be a suitable spot in the 21st century. And I have had the unique pleasure of working on this project almost since its inception. I've worked for a total of almost 30 years for NCIDC. There's been 3 executive directors over the course of this project. Bill Risling was the original director when the building was purchased. Terry Coltra championed this project for many decades. Some of you may know Terry or remember Terry and his work with NCIDC and workforce development in the county. And I've inherited the project here in the last third of its operations. And over the course of looking at ways to do all of the work that wouldn't impact the historic significance of the structure, that wouldn't put steel in the center of windows, that would put the facade back the way it was, that would make it a viable building for nonprofit and for-profit services that are housed there now. We had 4 engineering studies done over the course of 15 or 20 years. We worked with a variety of architects and variety of professionals. We tried to emphasize the desire to work with local service providers, local contractors, local craftsmen, local experts, to try and build the Carson Block to be what it is today. And as with anything, that cost a lot of money. We did historic tax credits, new market tax credits. We did a consortium of local providers, including AEDC, Headwaters Fund, HAF. There was just a whole slew of people that came in to provide various parts of the financing for the over $11 million in hard costs it took to do the seismic, the historic, and the general retrofit and rehabilitation of that building. And in fact, I think it's 16 or 17 million when you get into the architectural engineering and all of the other costs that were spent from the inception of the project. When we originally started working on this project with the city, we had asked for a community development block grant. And the city manager and the staff at the time were supportive. They were a big part of the process where we developed our financing packages, and they initially were working on a grant. The state of California at that time had said that their formulas and their procedures for projects of this nature were such that they wanted us to have a much higher loan and lower grant percentage at the inception of the project. And that once we completed our grant goals, once we were successful in the project, that the decision of conversion of some of the loan to grant would be something the city could discuss after we completed the goals. In 2019, we completed all the goals of the CDBG. In 2020, we went back to the state and entertained the things we were told at the beginning of this project and that the city was told, and got concurrence that yes, indeed, we had met all of the terms of the grant, that it had been a very successful project, in fact, a showcase project, and that the decision was now in the hands of the city if they were willing to do a conversion of some of the loan proceeds to a grant. We are now in a position, towards the end of this project, we had to take on another $1.5 million in financing to finish, particularly the seismic portion of the building. There was over $3 million worth of steel put into the building alone. And we're still paying on and having to refinance now the bridge financing, the additional financing that came direct from the NCIDC, and paying off all of what they call put costs on the historic tax credits and the new market tax credits and all of the other financing mechanisms that were used for this project. And we are asking that the council consider what was originally intended, which was a conversion of the CDBG loan to a CDBG grant, with a payment of $250,000 for a good faith payment down on the balance of the CDBG, and allow us to do our refinancing by the end of this year. The tax credits, both new market and historic tax credits, will unwind. The ownership of the building will come back from the tax credit partners to the Northern California Indian Development Council nonprofit proper. And we will be able to have a traditional $1.5–2 million mortgage on the building that we will then service over the course of a traditional mortgage period. And we're currently negotiating the final aspects of that. And the CDBG loan that is on the building now is greatly affecting our ability to negotiate that kind of financing. And so it's like I said, we have to unwind the new market tax credits by the end of the year. And we're working with a dozen different lawyers, accountants, tax credit agencies and financing institutions, and trying to get all the pieces to come together so that the project that we started that created the jewel that exists in Old Town right now can be finished, complete, and we can move on. I'm very proud of the building. I see people all the time coming through Old Town, stopping and taking pictures, asking us questions about it, wanting to take tours of the inside of it. I know that the connections to the building are endless. The Film Commission, who just gave a presentation, wonderful folks, just moved into the building, new tenants in the building. We have a lot of nonprofits in the building. HCAR is in the building. The Film Commission, of course, is in the building. True North Advocacy is in the building. Redwood Coast Village is in the building. NCIDC itself is the largest tenant in the building. We have a whole variety of social service, employment and training, emergency, disaster, and other services that we run out of the building. And we have a wonderful host of for-profit and healthcare and legal and mental health providers that are also in the building right now. I don't want to babble on endlessly, but if there's any questions anybody would like to ask, or if there's any further things that I can talk about, I would be glad to. But NCIDC is asking for the City Council's final approval of converting the 93% of the loan to a grant, as was originally intended, so that we can finalize our long-term financing on the project that we've done.
Thank you, Greg. Are there any questions from council? Councilmember Castellano?
Thank you. And firstly, congratulations on all of the work you've completed thus far. And I think I know the answer, but I feel like it's beneficial to the public to ask this. Will the City of Eureka going through this process compromise future CDBG funding that or applications that we may apply for other projects?
I'll answer that. No. When you do a loan, you have the option to turn it into a grant. That's one way that the city could make money off the funding, going back in, is to receive that funding and then do another project with it. So that's our main intention, is for the city to have that ultimate say in the decision making. So it's totally up to us. It won't jeopardize any future funding for us.
And if I may, there are multiple examples of in the region and in the state of other. This is not something that's unusual. This is a practice that has been done both locally and regionally within the state by other municipalities and by, in fact, the City of Eureka as well.
And Kristen, if I could just ask, so the $250,000 that would be rolled back into the CDBG and used for projects with the city, is that correct?
But you roll back into PI, and then we could turn around and invest that money back into our community based on what's allowable with that money. And that's kind of, if you look, we currently have funding that is just like that we use for different projects in the city. So it's the same process that's done with other ones.
Great, thank you.
And I'm sure Katie wants to hear this, but PI is program income.
Sorry, yes.
Excuse me, Councilmember Moulton.
Thank you, City Manager Slattery. Are there any more questions from council? Okay, seeing none, we'll bring it to public comment. Is there anyone here that wishes to comment on this item? LaTanya?
Hi, thank you. Forgive me for being, I just want to make clear. This, Eureka is a city that works with individuals. I have it in writing, so yeah, I have it in writing, and I just want you to be aware. I need someone to help me to understand what I'm doing here, because I'm not sure. Thank you.
Thank you, LaTanya. I don't see anyone else. Do you, Pam? Okay.
No, I don't.
Great. Bringing it back to council for comments or a motion. Councilmember Arroyo?
Great. Well, I move that we approve conversion of loan number 2015 TAC 000036 TAC 14 to a grant.
Second that. Are there any further comments? Okay. Thank you for all your great work, Greg. Roll call vote.
Councilmember Castellano.
Aye.
Councilmember Moulton.
Aye.
Councilmember Arroyo.
Aye.
Councilmember Burgell. Unanimous, or
Yes.
4 yes votes. Councilmember Bauer absent. Motion carries.
Thank you. And would you be willing to grab the mayor?
Admit her right now.
Thank you very much, folks.
Thank you, Greg.
All right, Mayor, you are back in the room.
I don't know where I am on my screen. But
I'm putting you back. Hold on. There we go.
all right. Well, thank you very much. Let me turn back to the front of my agenda, and we will move on to the next item, which is reports and action items. And we're going to get to hear from Economic Development Manager Swan Asbury. Good evening. Are you talking, Swan?
Go let her know.
Okay, I'll try that again.
Oh, now I can hear you.
Okay. Okay, good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight I am bringing before you our Economic Development Strategic Plan update. So earlier this year, we held a public meeting and we went through the plan action item by action item. So tonight, I'm not going to do that again. I am instead going to point out changes that we made from since the public meeting. And then I'm going to talk about how we're going to implement this and then go over the timeline. So starting with the changes, after our public meeting, we received a bit of feedback to include walkability as a guiding principle. And I just want to remind the council that we had 3 other guiding principles that we've already gone over, and those are diversity, equity, and inclusion, children and families, art and culture, and now we are adding walkability. The last edition of walkability was a topic at the Economic Development Commission meeting. There was questions over should it be changed with words about accessibility instead of walkability. The commission decided to stay with walkability, but if council would like to change that before adoption, I'm open to that feedback and curious for direction on that. I'm going to read that guiding principle and then we can move on. So walkability, as staff implements the Economic Development Strategic Plan update, they will consider the role of walkability, bikeability, and an excellent public transit system in supporting a vital and resilient local economy. These characteristics create neighborhoods and communities with high appeal for locals and tourists, increasing property values and economic activity. So we could pause and talk about changing that, or I can keep moving.
Why don't we go ahead and ask if anybody has any thoughts about that? Councilmember Arroyo.
I also like walkability, but I think the intent could be addressed by adding after, like in the descriptor, when it says walkability, bikeability, and an excellent public transit system, I think it could also say, and accessible public rights of routes of travel, something like that, in supporting a vital and resilient local economy. The cat's got my tongue tonight. That that could just express more clearly that that's the intent. But I think walkability has a different, it expresses something different than the word accessibility.
All right, anybody else on council have any? Councilmember Castellano.
I would maybe just include the word accessibility with walkability, bikeability, accessibility in that descriptor.
All right. I can't see economic development. No, there I can see her. You good? You got that?
I'm good. Thank you. Yeah.
All right. You ready to move on to the next one?
Yes, I appreciate the feedback. So the next change is the addition of the word only to action item 6C. That seems minor, but it does change the meaning. There should be an only after which will not only cut costs for individuals and national systems. So just wanted to point that out. Another change we've decided to make after the agenda packet went out is to action item 7A. On the list of specific plans we'd be interested in creating, we also added the California Cultural District in addition. And then the last change is to action item 16A, implement commercial corridor district revitalization projects. We've added Caltrans to the list of potential partnerships.
All right. Are you looking for feedback on the rest of the changes now?
No, I saw Natalie looking close, so I was pausing, but I'll keep going.
Okay.
Okay,
this
so
font is very
from here, I'm going to talk about implementation. So how do we make sure this plan doesn't just sit on a shelf for the next 5 years? How do we make sure it actually happens? First of all, we've broken the plan down into years, and then every month, the Economic Development Commission is going to get a staff report called the Economic Development Strategic Plan Update Check-in. And we'll be going over like what's completed for the year, what's in progress for the year, and then what's not started. And then annually, this will be coming to City Council. And I want to stress that this is going to be a living document. We're going to be making changes every year as we go. And then we just want to make sure that we can take advantage of opportunities and adjust going forward. So now for the timeline. The projects are broken down by year from July to June, and then some projects are ongoing action items. So I'm going to go over what's planned for each year, and this was really made by the interviews that were done for the plan, consistently hearing what people wanted to happen first, and then we can adjust every year as we go. So starting with 2021, here's our list. Action 1A, align all economic development efforts with guiding documents. That's happening. The things that are highlighted are things that are already in progress right now. Action 2A, digitize business license applications and select business data. Action 2D, implement a business retention and recruitment program. Action 2E, create an economic development webpage and social media strategy. And I'm gonna give you guys a little sneak peek of this. We've been working with Eddie Alexander, and we're going to have a website that will be ready in January that we're really excited about. So that will be coming back to council. Create a beautification master plan. In the interviews, consistently what I've heard over and over again was beautification. People want to see visible change. They want to see things cleaned up. And so that will be a focus of what we want to work on. A project of that will be our facade subhead program, which is already in action. This is one of our most popular programs. Our subhead team has done about 30 different site visits with different businesses, and lots of different improvements are in progress. And so it's especially during COVID when there's been less foot traffic. There's been an increased interest in the subside portion of this and the security improvements. Implement informational workshops regarding zero waste. This is something that's on the verge of happening. We've been working a lot on dumpster consolidation. Implement commercial corridor district revitalization projects. Create a broadband plan for Eureka. Include telehealth as the focus of the broadband plan. This is something with Public Works, of course. Certify a local coastal program amendment. This would be with our planning department. Provide by right zoning for commercial fishing, processing, aquaculture, marine shipping, and related support businesses. And then our cannabis ordinance, which will be coming to you soon. And then the consolidation of business serving agencies, which is Eureka Main Street and the Visitor Center. So this is what we're focused on for this year. Moving on to 2022, inventory business needs, wants, and requirements. Streamline regulations and processes to support a business-friendly reputation. Identify and plan for medical center expansion. Develop a strategy to establish Eureka as a center for destination healthcare. Identify strategies for expanding existing office-based businesses and institutions, and evaluate the market for commercial cruise ship visitation. We already have 3 different cruise ships that have reached out to us to visit next summer. So we are working on packaging excursions right now, and COVID has positioned Eureka for cruise ships. We're a hot topic right now. 2023, improve goods movement to and from locations outside the region. Partner to create distribution cold storage facility. Establish a modern cold storage facility within the city limits. Create resiliency plan to support businesses during emergency, and determine what rural advocacy planning efforts are currently underway within Humboldt County and integrate Eureka. And then Action 7A, so 2024, create specific plans for Waterfront, Broadway, Wabash, and our cultural districts and our airport, and market Eureka's opportunity zone to local and outside investors. And then our ongoing action items, coordinating land use planning in the port area with Humboldt County and the Humboldt Bay Harbor District, securing facilities for the commercial fishing fleet, promoting Eureka as the cultural, artistic, and economic center of Humboldt County and the Northwest region of California, supporting visual and performing arts programming, festivals, and other events, and continuing the implementation of the strategic rights plan. So that's the plan and our timeline, and I'm hoping that council will do it. Happy to answer any questions.
All right. Do we have any questions from council? Councilmember Castellano.
Thank you, and thank you, Economic Development Manager Asbury, for the presentation and for all of your incredible work on this. I was just curious, I know the county is going through this EIFD process, Enhanced Infrastructure Financing District process. And in fact, there was just an input session today on that. And I'm just curious if there might be a way of sharing, since some of our economic development plan includes, plans for the Samoa area, and our properties out there, if it might make sense to share this in some way with them, or at least be kind of, I know you work with Scott Adair on things already, but yeah.
Yeah, there is a Samoa Peninsula infrastructure work group that Director Irving and I sit on, and so we are part of the EIFD conversations, and we do partner with Scott regularly in the harbor, and this is definitely infrastructure on the peninsula is good for Eureka, and we're excited to partner on this, and we'll continue to do so.
Awesome. Thank you. And then one other question, just in terms of Caltrans, I've heard that they're starting to have some meetings about the new Clean California program, which seems like a a potential kind of funding source for some of these Broadway and corridor improvements. Have there been conversations yet around kind of working with them, and have they been kind of forthcoming in wanting to kind of work with us on these beautification efforts?
That's something I would direct to Director Gerving. He's really our contact with Caltrans, or City Manager Slattery would like to speak on that.
I was gonna say that Director Gerving has worked with them, but I'm sure he could give more details than I could.
Sure. Thank you, Councilmember Castellano. So the Clean California program, Caltrans local staff is pretty excited about it. And when I last spoke with them regarding that, just about 2 weeks ago, they were still waiting on the guidelines to come out. And we have another meeting with them this week. Hopefully that'll be a topic. But they're excited at the prospect of a couple initiatives that the city has already discussed, including the south entrance to Broadway and street trees along the 101 corridor. So we're hopeful that there are a lot of good impacts that can be made with that Clean California funding. But it's on a pretty tight timeline, which is why they are pushing headquarters to get those guidelines out soon.
Can I just clarify, did you just say they're excited about street trees along the 101?
They're very excited about it. Yeah, actually, for those of you who've been tracking the long-standing maintenance and landscape maintenance agreement issue with Caltrans, those agreements have both been executed by city staff quite some time ago, and they're now making their way through the inner recesses of Caltrans headquarters for final signature. But the terms have all been agreed to, so it's moving forward.
Wow. Well, that was exciting news I didn't expect today. Any other questions for Economic Development Manager Asbury? All right, if we don't have any other questions, I'll move it over to public comment. And it looks like we have a comment from LaTanya Jacob.
Excuse me, I just want to make sure I understand. What is the tool COVID-19? That's a tool, right? And is that like a red flag tool? Or I'm just trying to understand what role does that play in the development of the scheme of things, or am I off altogether?
Yeah, COVID-19 is just a pandemic. It's not a tool. Okay. Thank you. Colin Fisk.
Hello again. I realized last time I did not identify who I was, so I should say I'm representing the Coalition for Responsible Transportation Priorities. And I just wanted to really thank city staff for hearing that public comment about walkability and incorporating that into the economic development plan. I think I wanted to just briefly reflect that I think when we say walkability, what we're really talking about is just designing places for people, which shouldn't be that remarkable, but kind of is, because we tend to design public places for vehicles instead. And the reason it's a good economic development strategy is that people like places that are designed for people. So I hope we'll keep that in mind as we go forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other public comment? All right. Following that up, I'm just going to give a plug for our conference again. We're talking to somebody from Ukiah who just did a big downtown revitalization walkability program. And the frustration that people had when they proposed it, and how surprised they were that people didn't want it, and then how beautiful and wonderful it is now. So there's a lot of emotions that go into those programs, but ultimately it's real nice when places become walkable and built for people, as Colin was just saying. Any other comments about this? Oh, shoot. Do you mind if I go back to public comment? We have one more. Brisa has something that I didn't see her hand before. I'm sorry, but I just want to give her a chance. Brisa?
Hi. Yeah, I was just listening in about the economic development ideas, and we're talking about like walkability and designing like this, you know, the city to be accessible for the people and for the people to enjoy and stuff. Yeah, I just wonder, you know, like in Eureka, walking around in Eureka, I just, yeah, it seems like a lot of these ideas, I mean, obviously it's an economic development plan, so I understand the idea of supporting businesses getting like recognition or businesses getting support and stuff like that. But I just wonder, like, how does that benefit like the residents of Eureka? Like, how is that like make a better place for like residents to walk around? Is that like yeah, I just don't really get that.
Well, you're welcome to call the Economic Development Department, and you could probably have a conversation with somebody there to talk about their strategy in detail. Thank you very much for that, and I'm going to bring it back for comments.
Am I okay to speak?
You already had your time to speak on this item, LaTanya. Thank you. And we're going to go back to Councilmember Castellano.
Thank you. Mostly, I just want to say thank you to Economic Development Manager Asbury for just the tremendous work you've put into this, and also how receptive you've been to public input and comment, and just you. Yeah, I have deep appreciation for this plan, and I'm really excited about it. And it encompasses many different kind of perspectives and vantage points on economic development, and I'm just excited for the vision that we're going to all bring forward with it for Eureka.
Councilmember Burgell.
I too wanted to thank you. This is a beautiful report reflecting our beautiful city and things to come. It's really exciting, and I appreciate how you set the goals yearly so that we can look at what we're working on and we can stay in contact with that. I'm a real big fan of timelines and getting things done in that way, and so I really appreciate that. And with that, I will make the motion to adopt the Economic Development Strategic Plan update.
I'll second that. Thank you. Thank you very much. Do we have any further discussion on this item? Councilmember Arroyo?
I also just wanted to express appreciation for the robust process you went through to get input on this. And it just seemed really broad reaching and thorough. And it's a beautiful document that also I think has a lot of actionable next steps. So it's really great to see those come forward. And Director Gerving, we should talk about this Clean California thing, because I don't want to write a competing grant proposal. So as an aside, let's talk. All right, that's all I've got.
And before we take a vote, I could not move on without also really talking about how dedicated Economic Development Manager Asbury is to this, to economic development in Eureka. This is how I got involved with Eureka, was coming up through the Economic Development Commission. And I know it's not just a job to her. She is completely committed to supporting our business and making this a better community. So good job. You're all done now, but you're not done. You got just the work just starting. And with that, let's go ahead and do a roll call vote.
Councilmember Castellano?
Aye.
Councilmember Moulton?
Aye.
Councilmember Arroyo?
Aye.
Councilmember Burgell?
Yes.
4 yes votes. Councilmember Bauer absent. Motion carries.
All right. Now we are going to move on to item D2, Voter Ward Redistricting and Census Data 2020 Report. And we have GIS Program Manager Topolewski here to present. Did I butcher your name?
Oh, that was pretty good.
Okay, sorry.
It gets butchered on a daily basis, so. Let's see here. I got some screen. Can you guys see my screen okay? Okay, so good evening, Mayor and Council. And good job, teammate Asbury, on the last one. I'm here for round 2 of voter ward discussions. So today on the docket, we've got a staff recommended voter ward realignment for you to look at closely. And we've got about 9 areas of specific change that I kind of made a slide for each one that we can look at. And then we also have 5 contributed scenarios from our good friends at the Lost Coast Outpost. We really appreciate all that they do as far as providing the public an opportunity to chime in on this process. With that, a little history on our current ward alignment. Back in 2017, as you guys probably know well, we changed over to a true ward system. And at that time, we undertook an elaborate process that included a 7-person ad hoc committee, 188-page report analysis. And at that time also, we had a lot of helpful input from the Lost Coast Outpost. And in fact, our current ward was based on one of their recommendations. So thanks again to them. So this is the overall view of the staff recommended layout, and it's based on the newly released 2020 census blocks. And basically it was created with the goal of honoring that 2017 work and analysis and trying to even out the populations of the wards while minimizing the geographic change. Yeah, because we saw that report as having a lot of integrity and a lot of staff hours went into that. So it wasn't that long ago. So what I'd like to do at this point is for the staff recommendation, there's 9 areas of change. And you can see them kind of in red there. So jumping right in, I'll race through them, and then we can, if there's any specific questions, we can jump back and look at any of them. So, yeah, once again, the goal was balancing populations while minimizing the geographical changes. So here we have area 1. Basically, it's about 2 acres, about an acre of low density, an acre of medium residential, and it's currently in the 5th ward. It would be going to the 4th ward. Going to area 2, we have about an acre and a half that would be going from Ward 3 into Ward 1, and it's about 3/4 of an acre of high residential and 3/4 of medium. We have the 3rd area change, which is about a little more than 13 acres. And it would be going from Ward 3 into Ward 5, and it's got some of that neat Wabash area in addition to some high density residential. Area 4 is about just shy of 20 acres. It'd be going from Ward 2 into Ward 1. Area 5, about 8.5 acres. There's just about an acre of medium density residential, and the rest would be low density residential, and that's going from Ward 2 to Ward 3 as the proposal shows. Area of change 6 is about 10.5 acres. It's all low density residential, and it would be going from the 2nd ward into the 3rd. Area 7, it's about 63 acres, pretty good size. It's going from Ward 3 into Ward 2, and it's all low density residential. Change number 8 is just shy of 20 acres, slated to go from Ward 3 into Ward 4, and it's all LDR. And the final area of change is in the coastal zone. It's some coastal dependent industrial over behind the mall, and it's sandwiched between a little sliver of public railway right away and our waterfront development. So that's the 9 areas of change. And if you guys want to ask questions about that now, we can, or we can jump into some of the Lost Coast user contributed. Any opinions?
So you may have any questions right now. Do you want to just move on? Councilmember Moulton.
I had a question about that last slide. Can we see that one again? Why that? Is that split across the census block?
Basically, the way I conducted the exercise is I labeled each census block with its population, and then I tried to grab populations. You're kind of working with a plus or minus. You know, this census or this ward might be down, 250 population, and this other one has some to give. So it was kind of a shell game where you grab based on population.
I guess I don't. My question is, there don't seem to be houses over there. What do you mean?
There is, just right in the lower half. There's some residential area right there, kind of right across from where our park or our waterfront trail parking lot is, right there.
Okay, thank you. I drove down there trying to find where the houses were, but
there's not many. You're right. It's kind of a lot of real estate for the population value.
And did I miss it, or did you already sort of talk about the spirit of how we're breaking it up based on the last commission that worked really hard on developing the first wards and making sure that there were, are you taking into account businesses as well as housing and sort of the different sort of structures that are in there?
I think this one, there's most of the changes affect residential areas, but this one and maybe there's a little portion of that Wabash area that does have a little bit of a business district in it.
Councilmember, I saw somebody, it looks like Councilmember Arroyo, was it you that wanted to say something? Or did I just think I saw something? All right.
I was confirming that there are houses there. I've been yelled at by residents there for roller skating too close to their front door. So I can confirm that they are there.
Nice view down there.
It is a really good view. I did not have my hand raised. I was scratching.
I'm sorry. Thank you. I just want to give everybody a chance. All right. We'll let you move on to the next part of your program.
Okay. Yeah. And with this next part, I just wanted to run by the council and the mayor 5 of the juiciest Lost Coast outpost scenarios, just to see if there's any interest in me. I could do a similar data dig on these if there's any interest. So without further ado, we have option number 1, Hank's first try. They all have titles, so I'll give them all their titles. This is Hank's first try. Looks pretty good. Option number 2 is Utopia. Moving right along. Option number 3, Trying. Option number 4, Burns' Solution. And I don't really know what to say on these, so I'll just go with option number 5, the one where they all touch. I like that. That's a good concept. And that kind of sums it up for today. We're going to be coming back to you guys a couple more times with this. So I guess at this point, we're just kind of looking for your direction.
Do we have any questions first? Councilmember Castellano?
Well, let's see. I mean, I guess I would be just curious maybe from council if I looked at all of the options and I was I didn't have a preference necessarily over staffs, but I could be interested in, if other council members felt strongly about some of them and exploring them. So I'm just curious to know that.
We'll come back to that on comments, perhaps. Does anybody else have more questions? All right, seeing none, I will take it to public comment and ask if there's any comments from the public on this. And I see LaTanya has her hand up.
Yeah, the zoning. Is it possible to get a copy of the zoning that's presented today? It's for every presented. I'd like to have a copy so I'll know what, and you'll have a breakdown of what those populations and what the red areas and stuff mean. And I also have more questions as in my email to you.
Okay, well, that's all public, so you can call and get some of that.
Okay.
And also, if it's possible, I'd like to add, that's a good question, LaTanya. We also, we added to our city GIS website all of these different scenarios presented here. So folks at home or in the public can go in and they can turn on the different websites or the different scenarios, and then they can turn on other layers such as land use or zoning or bus stops. If you know any of the data that we have available, and you can do your own kind of crunching. We have that available to the public right now.
Excellent, thank you. Caroline Griffith.
Hi. First of all, that's really fascinating, Riley, and I'm excited to get on the website and check that out and look at all those layers. I think it'd be interesting to look at the suggestions from Lost Coast Outpost, but one thing that is very compelling about the staff suggestion is that it's a minimal change. And I think that this is something people are often confused about anything in regards to voting. And so making this so it's like an easy shift for people who might change into a different ward and to not like really drastically change the boundaries seems like a good idea. But if it is possible to look at all those other scenarios that were submitted by Lost Coast Outpost users and see how drastic the change is, that might be really interesting as well. But I think keeping it simple for voters is key.
Thank you, Caroline. And Riley, would you mind turning off your presentation? Sorry about that. All right. So I think we are ready to come back to council for comments. Councilmember Moulton and then Royo.
I just wanted to say thank you for your work on this and that it all looks very fiddly. I couldn't see, I don't have a preference. I looked through all of them and didn't see one that I thought just stood out for any particular reason above the staff recommendation. And I just wanted to say that I'm very impressed with the GIS map on the site, turning on the layers and off the layers and being able to compare them directly with an overlay was extremely helpful.
All right, Councilmember Arroyo.
I also favor staff recommendation because of the similarity to the existing ward shape. And I just generally agree that less change in redistricting is better, but I also appreciate the GIS opportunity to kind of learn and play around with the different options. And thank you for making that mapping tool so functional for folks.
Seems like we're the only ones who are interested in making it as small and easy as possible. Councilmember Burgell.
I too, as Caroline Griffith said, like the idea of keeping it simple. We want people to vote for sure. I do have to admit, though, I do like the idea of all sides touching. It just speaks to all of us being connected as a community. And I know that that may sound silly, but I appreciate that. I too, though, am a fan of keeping it simple.
Councilmember Castellano.
Yeah, whoever made I don't know which member of the public made the the ones where they all touch, but I did kind of laugh out loud, not in a mean way, but in a just kind of enjoying the, I don't know, it seemed like they were having fun with the concept. So I appreciate the people who spent some time on that. Yeah, I definitely agree in terms of, having gone door to door talking with voters. It throws people when their ward changes or their district changes or anything like that. And a lot of people often aren't aware of it until someone comes to their door and says, "Hey, did you know now?" So I think that it's useful for voters to keep it simple. It seemed like the first one was, sort of the simplest after the staff recommendation, but I wouldn't. I'm happy with staff's recommendation personally on this as well. And yeah, and thanks for the GIS for anyone out there. It's pretty fun to play with. You can, kind of turn on and off different layers for the different, kind of solutions to the redraw of the word map and compare them all. It's a pretty good tool.
And just as a plug, if anybody from the council or the public ever has any recommendations for the GIS, I love to hear. We have a lot of good data in house, and we've built a nice program here. So always open to comment.
Very nice. Well, it sounds like I think everybody provided some feedback. Do you think you got the direction that you needed?
Yeah, I think so. I think maybe Pam could chime in on this, but I think we need to start working towards an ordinance, I believe. So we just wanted to really lay it out there for you guys and gauge your opinions. So thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
The next steps will be to come back to council with in a public hearing as part of the election law for ward redistricting. And it will be the introduction of the ordinance with the new boundaries, and we will utilize the staff recommendation. And there will be a public hearing for both the introduction and the adoption for members of the public to speak.
All right. Got that? Right on. I do, again, want to reiterate, thank you for keeping it simple when others seem to be trying to make it as complicated as possible. And we will go to item D3, draft ordinance regulating the transportation of coal over City of Eureka owned property. And I believe this is going to be our city attorney, Robert Black.
Yes, Mayor and members of the council. The council expressed an interest in prohibiting the transportation, storage, handling, transshipment of coal through the City of Eureka. And this is a topic of conversation in other communities. It's a topic of litigation that has taken place in other communities. And the local communities have not always been successful. The reason being that coal is an item of national interest, not just local interest. The means of transporting a massive energy source like coal is an item of national interest. And so there are other bodies, such as the Surface Transportation Board or Congress under the Commerce Clause, that have jurisdiction in this area. So one area where the city is on firm ground, I'm not going to say unimpeachably firm or unbreachably firm, because that probably remains to be seen, but the city has control on behalf of the citizens of Eureka of property that the citizens of Eureka own. And the city has control of property that has been placed in its trust through the trust lands and tidelands that are in trust held by the City of Eureka, managed by the City of Eureka, but in trust for all the people of the state. In controlling those areas, I I think we're on the firmest available grounds to control the transshipment of coal. So the proposal is to have an ordinance that simply, in simple terms, just prohibits, I'll go back to the actual language, but transporting, storing, or handling coal on city-owned property or property held by the city in trust. The proposed language of the ordinance is subject to refinement. The idea here is to get this ordinance before you as a bill for introduction at your November 2nd meeting. And that gives us about a week. Well, it gives us tonight, pursuant to your discussion. It gives us additionally another week before the agenda item would go into the process, be put up on Granicus, and be headed toward your meeting of November 2nd. So especially in regard to both aspects of the ordinance, the findings and the regulatory language, I'm certainly open to suggestion. The findings were kind of cherry picked from some documents that were created in respect to other ordinances in other cities. They could be much more elaborate. They could be anywhere between what we have, which is a rather stripped down version, and elaborate. So if you have constituents, or if you yourself want to suggest additional language for these findings, please let me know. And if there is time, my plan was to annotate the findings that we ultimately end up with reference to other documents of a more scientific nature that people could actually look to substantiate these findings. So there you have it. It's tonight's purpose is just for discussion and input of ideas and language.
All right. Does anybody have any questions for City Attorney Black? I'm giving you all a second. I was going to say, because I can't believe nobody has questions. Councilmember Arroyo.
So I know there's been a lot of community interest in this topic, and I know I got some calls suggesting that we revisit the language just to make sure that we're not focusing too much on something that would be regulated outside of it would be outside of our jurisdiction to make decisions about, such as, essentially, transportation related matters that are not the city of Eureka's, not in our wheelhouse necessarily. So I wonder if you have any thoughts or ideas on how we might take that input and make modifications using that input.
Yeah, I would just say that I'm open to it and open to seeing what it would be. And if you have access to folks with those viewpoints, let's just pass it on through to me. Like I said, we have a target date of about a week from now to kind of get this in the form that it will appear on your agenda, your next agenda as a bill. And that gives us that gives us a fair amount of time to work on this. So sure, Pat, have them contact me directly or pass it through.
Great, thank you very much.
Any other questions about this item? All right, seeing none, I will open it up to public comment. I see LaTanya has her hand up.
If I have any questions on needing how to get in touch with Attorney Black, or anyone needs to get in touch with the Attorney Black, we would go to City Hall, right?
I would contact City Hall, yes. Colin Fisk.
Hello again. So I just wanted to thank the City Council and staff for really, pursuing this. I think it's really important, and I'm sure you've heard from a lot of your constituents about the importance of it. The 2 points I wanted to highlight are that I think it's critical that whatever approach we take focuses on the health and safety as well as environmental impacts, and minimizing those impacts, and that we really have an eye to the impacts which are in the jurisdiction of the city to regulate. And second, just that that the city avail itself of whatever expertise it can, given that, as City Attorney Black mentioned, there have been other cities that have tried to do this and have gone through this experience before, and so learning the lessons from them and from the attorneys that worked on those cases, I think, would be important. So thank you.
Thank you. And Caroline Griffith.
I'd really like to second what Colin said, but then after listening to and watching the presentation about the Economic Development Strategic Plan, it seems that also storage and handling of coal in the city of Eureka would potentially have an economic impact and conflict with some of the vision that the city has of the future of Eureka. So I think focusing on the health and safety impacts and the potential economic impacts as well. Just clean air and clean water are incredibly valuable to the city of Eureka and the health of the bay, and the thought of storing coal and having all of that dust in the rain run down into the bay and affect that would have a huge economic impact, as well as just a social and cultural impact. So again, I thank you for really acting quickly on this and being thoughtful about it.
Thank you very much. And I don't see any other public comment, so I will bring it back for comment and direction. Councilmember Castellano.
Okay, yeah, and thank you for this. I agree with what some of the other members of the public have brought forward, that for me, my concern is to, use city land appropriately to protect public health. And, I'm not concerned with, stepping into any areas where we don't have jurisdiction. And I think it would be important to just remove any wording associated with that, just to be absolutely clear that, areas that we don't regulate, we don't want to regulate. And, and then in terms of, I think that's my main main concern. I think that there's, I did also speak with kind of several people on the issue, members of Friends of the Eel River and North Coast Environmental Center, and also a lawyer that had been recommended that I chat with. So I'll forward that stuff to you. But I think that there's certainly maybe language around like amassing of products that are, detrimental to public health or the environment that could be incorporated as well. So yeah, and just thanks for being so quick on this and for moving it forward also.
Anybody else on council have any comments or direction for City Attorney Black? Councilmember Brigel.
I too appreciate you bringing this forward so quickly. I agree that environmental impacts are going to be deadly if this goes through. And I love that our city and region are looking at as many tools as we can to keep this from happening in our communities. So I really appreciate that on all levels and different groups. Thank you.
All right. Do you feel like you have what you need, City Attorney Black?
Yes, and I would certainly welcome the forwarding of other input and other contacts. I too have spoken to some outside attorneys that have worked in this area. So, but this is something somewhat uncharted territory where we can use all the advice and input that we can get. So
I appreciate too that that we're looking for something that can actually make a difference. I mean, it's easy to say what we want or don't want, and this is trickier. And so I appreciate all the work that's going into making sure that when we say it, we have a little something to put behind it. So excellent. Well, then we will move on to item E, which is future agenda items. Does anybody have anything they would like to add to future agenda, discuss about adding to future agendas? Councilmember Burgell?
Yes, I was curious. I was contacted by someone about Medicare for All. Let me just find the email here. I was ready for a break.
Oh, we're so close to the end.
I need to find it. Sorry.
Actually, the city manager's report may take a minute. Do you guys want a 5-minute break?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll do that. You look for your email. We'll come back in 5 minutes. All right. See you guys at 8:10. Waiting for. All right. So we will now go back to the future agenda items discussion, and Kim, or Councilmember Burgell.
Yes, so I've been reached out to about single payer healthcare and getting that passed in California. And the person who reached out to me would like to come and do a presentation on that and just kind of discuss what that would look like for our community, and to try and garnish some support for that. And I'm curious if anyone would be interested in having that perhaps as just as a discussion item where she comes and does a report.
We have Leslie and Katie are both interested. Natalie's good with it. All right. That sounds like that could be something that you can bring her in. We could put it at the mayor's presentation.
Absolutely. I'll get with you about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I also have an agenda item. Oh, Leslie or Councilmember Castellano, do you have one you want to add?
Sure. Sorry, I can wait until yours is done though.
Okay. At the beginning of the meeting, I asked if everybody wanted to do a letter by consensus, and we do that occasionally, like every few meetings, because we get these letters that come up usually with very short time span, and we don't have enough time to put them on the agenda. So City Attorney Black was suggesting that we could possibly add to the agenda a standing agenda item to adopt a position on behalf of the City of Eureka, on behalf of the City of Eureka to advocate for state, county, or other pending legislature. And then that way, since that agenda will always be standing, we can add things on at the last minute. So we wouldn't be adding that today, but could we talk about making that addition to the agenda at another meeting? All right, City Manager Slattery.
Thank you, Mayor. And just to clarify, what happens a lot, and this has happened a lot in the past, is we'll get information from the League of Cities or information from other outlets for supporting or not supporting particular legislation, and it usually has a very tight time frame. And so sometimes it's not able to get in front of council and get that support or not support for that legislation. So this would help with that, so that we can do things and still meet the time frames when these come up on us really quickly.
sometimes even if there is consensus, people have something to say, which we can't do when we all can just do this and then we have to move on. So thank you very much. Now, Councilmember Castellano.
Well, I was going to ask council, so some of you know that I've been part of a group that's worked on a housing survey related to people's experiences, primarily looking for housing, but it's from a variety of standpoints. And I would just be curious, I'd be interested in presenting, some of the results to council if council is interested, but also, I can kind of publish the results through the survey too if council's not interested in having a formal presentation. I would imagine it would take about 10 minutes maybe to kind of give an overview.
I think that'd be really useful. So there you go. We still do the thumbs up thing. We're so used to the consensus building. All righty. Anything else for future agenda items? All right, looks like we are good to go, and we're going to move on to the city manager's report. I'm so excited to hear the city manager's report today.
So just to hold off the mayor's excitement, I just have a couple of quick things before we get to the main topic. I just want to confirm with council that, we haven't seen much of a fluctuation in the numbers. Some may say they've even gone down a little bit. The last council meeting, we had discussed a hybrid meeting if things should stay in this condition that we're in now and not change. So what I'm asking is to confirm that starting in November that we do hybrid meetings, allow for those in the public that wanted to come into council chambers, for staff or council members that still wanted to do the virtual approach, they can still do that virtual approach. And I just want to confirm that that's council's direction going forward, starting in the meetings in November.
Councilmember Burgell, then Arroyo.
I like that idea. I've had several people reach out to me about being able to be there in person. So having that option for people who maybe can't be there for immune compromised, or they have children that aren't vaccinated, or work with children who are not vaccinated, having that option for them to stay in the hybrid mode on the computer would be great. And then allowing folks to come in. I think that's a great idea. And hopefully with that, we can get more people coming back to the meeting for public comment. It was great tonight to have folks, but I would sure love to see a lot more of that. Thanks.
All right. Councilmember Arroyo.
Yeah, I concur. And I'd also just like to request that we make it as easy as possible for staff to participate remotely if they need to. So as much of our staff presentations as can happen remotely if people want to, that seems good to me.
Yes, definitely. Pam's new Star Wars Command Center in City Hall allows for that option. And so they could either do it from their office or they could either do it from home, whichever they prefer. And that includes consultants. So going forward, I think this will really, regardless of the situation we're in, could help also save the city money in dealing with consultants and having presentations.
That's always nice to hear. Anything else? All right.
Okay. And then the other thing I wanted to get an update on the vaccine mandate. I'm very, very happy to say that it has been extremely successful. I will say that we have lost a couple of very valued employees, and the loss of that institutional knowledge is going to be difficult. However, I believe the HR director, Folger, announced that we are in the mid-70s for percentile for city employees. We are now at 97%. It's been extremely successful. We have basically 7 employees that have filed for exemptions, and we will go through those 7 employees, but total vaccination of that includes people that are fully vaccinated as well as have submitted proof of their first shot. We're at 97%. It's a drastic increase over that 2-week period. I think it was a great decision to protect our workers as well as the community. And on top of that, our active sworn officers and EPD are at 100%. So it's been successful, and I appreciate council's courage in putting that forward and protecting our employees. So with that, I'd like to introduce Assistant City Manager Powell to discuss the long-awaited guidebook for boards and commissions.
Wow, thank you. That is that's a lot to live up to for this long-awaited document. But I have to say, the Mayor Seaman and myself have put a lot of energy into this booklet. It's brought. I would share my screen with the booklet, but I have so many windows open right now, and with Zoom and managing it, I don't want to crash everything, so I'm not going to. You have the booklet in front of you. But one of the reasons we're presenting it to you in the city manager's report is that council will not be adopting the booklet. It's a living document, and we'll be making changes to it as we receive from members of the community, staff, board members. It's intended to provide a guidance to both our staff and to board and commission members to allow them or to confirm to them what their roles are when they're participating in a board, what council's expectations are, what staff needs to provide. And so the mayor has, she's very excited about using this handbook as a tool and she and I will be training our boards and commissions after the first of the year, and I'll let her kind of go into her ideas on that. But we will have, tomorrow I'll be sending you the list of upcoming vacancies for next year for all of our boards and commissions and what members and who they are that are terming out. And there may be vacancies for additional folks to make that. Sorry, something is in my screen. Anyway, with that, I'll kind of let the mayor talk a little bit about this, and then we would love to hear what your suggestions are for this booklet as we make changes to it for the future. So, Mayor Seaman?
Sure. So when I started, one of the things that was clear is that we have committees and commissions and boards that have some really valuable folks on it with a lot of great opinions, but there wasn't a lot of understanding between necessarily often amongst committee and commission members about what their role was or how the things that they were talking about got to council, how were decisions made. Sometimes it was just really unclear what happened once it left the commission. And I found a lot of our volunteers to be pretty frustrated. And they're really incredibly valuable part of our public engagement process. So I thought that it would be really helpful if they understood exactly what their role was. When we start committees, commissions, boards, there's usually a training about the Brown Act, but really kind of not that broader concept about, what is it that we're doing here? And a lot of times you're joining an already existing commission, so you're sort of jumping in midway and you're trying to catch up with what's happening. So what we're hoping is that everybody will get a handbook so they get lots of explanation, not just a paragraph about what this committee or commission does, how it fits in, how the organizational chart works, how the communication works between departments and the council and the commissions. And then also, so there'll be training about that every year. there will be board reports, which we haven't heard for several years. We'll make sure that we get those from the different committees, commissions, and boards. And also, I would like to increase just conversations with the chairs of the different boards a couple of times a year to make sure that they feel like they have an opportunity to have a conversation with somebody from the council. So the meeting could be with me and I guess I think I can get 2 other council members to attend without it being a Brown Act. But so we're working on those trainings, but we definitely are going to start in January training the new folks who will be coming in as well as the ones who exist. And then every October, again, we'll also do an additional sort of check-in at how things are going and when are the reports going to be due, that kind of thing. Now, Councilmember Arroyo.
Thank you so much for preparing this update. I did have a couple of questions. Is now a good time for that?
Sure.
Okay. So I think it helps to talk about the process a lot more, which I appreciate, and the process of developing relationships and understanding roles and, phrasing recommendations and all of those things that are really valuable. A couple of things that this is silent on that I would really love to understand more. So a lot of them used to present to us on our annual basis or so. And I miss that. I can't remember the last time we had a presentation from one of our committees or commissions about what they've been working on. Or the last time I've seen their work plan. So I saw, or is it work program?
They have, I think it's a work plan. And that was what I was talking about is we'll have presentations at least once a year from them now.
Oh, okay. I didn't see that in here though.
No.
In the document.
Actually, can we add that in there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was kind of understood. I must have missed that it wasn't in there. So.
And I believe it's in our ordinance too about presentations to council, which we just updated our board and commission ordinance. But I'll also put it in this document.
Okay. Great. And then, I'd love to just have, I know they're probably at different stages of developing these work programs and that the presentations can't happen all at once, but I would love to see what some of the work programs are. And I often will meet with a board or commission member and feel a little silly because I think maybe think we have their work programs and we don't. So I'd love to see those and just get a sense of what they're working on for those that already have a work program enacted.
I was going to say there are probably some who are like, we have a work program we're supposed to be doing. I didn't know that. Yeah. Consistency in communication, I think, is really important. One thing we haven't talked about a lot is, we've kind of gone back and forth, is do we do a big training with all the boards and commissions together, or do we go to everyone and do a big training with each of the ones individually? So we'll have to figure out how people get this information.
Yes.
Councilmember Castellano?
Yeah, just to reiterate the thank you for this. I know a lot of board members will be excited about it. And it's a useful resource for council as well, really, in terms of incoming council members and just kind of learning how the board process works. One thing I was thinking could be just added to the chart. I think it's just because it's new and things, the boards are kind of shifting around, but it's just if they're meeting quarterly or monthly, and if they're meeting quarterly, sort of what the quarterly schedule is. So that way that's all easily accessible. But it's just a little thing.
Thank you.
Any other feedback, suggestions, thoughts. I know that committees and commissions have been on the minds of not just me. I hear from everybody that, including commissioners and board members, that they really just would like some more feedback. So anything else that you feel like is missing out of here? You're nodding, Councilmember Arroyo? Okay.
I thought it was like anything that you think is missing, like give that feedback. And I was like, yes, I will give that feedback.
And that's exactly it. And if you know anybody who is interested in any of the commissions, please let me know. Because as Pam mentioned, she'll be sending those out tomorrow. So we have some great folks who are currently underutilized, but hopefully we will start making strong use of them soon. Anything else? All right, I'll give it back to Pam, or to Assistant City Manager Powell to wrap this up then.
Well, thank you, Council, for your input. And I'll go ahead and I've already made some changes. And I do have to thank Principal Planner Kristen Getz. She runs a lot. I can't remember exactly how many boards she runs. I think it's about 5. And she runs them very successfully. And our commissioners on those boards are very satisfied, I believe, with the information that they receive. And so she helped me also a great deal on this booklet, and I appreciate her assistance. So thank you.
And I would really like to, thank Assistant City Manager Powell and staff who have been working behind the scenes to make sure we get in here what we need to get in here, and to we'll also be training up on this book as well. So.
Okay, thank you.
At the end of your report?
Yes, sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Then we'll move on to council reports. And we will start with Councilmember Castellano.
Gosh, I kind of forgot this was on the agenda. But okay, I've been continuing to, attend meetings related to housing. I should have posted pictures. I'm not very good at that. I attended the Eureka High homecoming parade, and it was so cool. It was just, it's neat to see all of the teens in action with their floats and kind of bravada and having fun. And I was there in Henderson Center, and I also stopped by the high school and saw Councilmember Burgell there with her class, so that was really nice. And right after that, I attended a meeting that Charmaine Lawson held at the courthouse, kind of advocating for continued justice for the death of Josiah Lawson. And I just want to acknowledge that that's an ongoing pain in our community. And so I appreciated that she held that event. And I've, been going to my regular board meetings, HWMA and REDEC and all of that. So that's my report.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Moulton.
Hi, thank you. I recently met with the leadership from Eureka City Schools, as one does. We discussed a lot of the sort of things that are ongoing, the Jacobs campus, COVID safety, and that J Street is being closed again for the safety of the students temporarily while they do improvements over there. Also, I had asked them about how folks are feeling and just with the general stress of the world, and the Eureka High and the city schools are taking great proactive action in protecting not only the physical health but the mental health of the students. And I always really like to see that, providing just different opportunities I could expand on, but bringing in staff and bringing in strategies to help folks cope with what's going on and not just kind of throwing everybody back into the mix and expecting everybody to jump right back in where they were. And like so many of us need to get back into the mix and understand that this can be a really stressful thing for everyone. I'm looking forward to this weekend. There's a neighborhood cleanup. The South Eureka Neighborhood Alliance is put together over at Highland Park. So I'll be getting together with a bunch of neighbors over there to help clean up. And I think this is a great time to plug the Eureka Beautification, the Neighborhood Beautification Project. If you want to organize a neighborhood cleanup, it does take all of us working together to keep Eureka looking as good as it can. And you can go over to empowereureka.org, and the city will provide things like bags and grabbers and buckets and high visibility vests, so that all you really need to bring for a neighborhood cleanup is the people power. So if you have interest in that, head over there. And if you're looking for something, I was going to say fun, but useful to do this Saturday, meet us at Highland Park. Rain or shine, wear a mask. Thank you.
Councilmember Burgett.
Thank you. I just have a couple small things. One thing I wanted to let you guys know, Boo at the Zoo is happening on Halloween Day. And the Candy Trail, which is going to be so fun, you guys, is at 12 noon. There's a spooky science lab and an annual animal pumpkin chomp and stomp. So that should be exciting. Bring your kiddos. It is general admission. And the Skywalk is now fully open again. So that's really important to know. And then I just wanted to also put a plug in for Eureka High. I attended homecoming, all the events from Pajama Day to Cowboy Day to Space Day to all those different things. And I just really appreciate the leadership at Eureka High and how they have really taken COVID seriously. And I think Councilmember Moulton mentioned that. And I really appreciate the extra work that's gone into that. And I did want to say that the best part of homecoming was that, as many of you know, I work with life skills kids. And the best part was during the homecoming rally, our kids have a special ed bocce ball team. And never before have they been able to sit on the lawn with all the athletes. And this year, 3 of the members of our bocce ball team sat on the lawn and were recognized as athletes at Eureka High. And it was so awesome. And our kids were so excited. And it just was such a gift. And so I appreciate Eureka High's willingness also to be as inclusive and to grow that inclusiveness, because it hasn't, it's definitely been a process, not an event. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Councilmember Royal.
Awesome. Well, I am going to be attending as much as I can of the Economic Development Summit and really looking forward to that. Super exciting stuff on the horizon. One thing I would ask is, I know that we have tickets for council members to attend as we're a sponsor and a collaborator, but I need to know how to access it. So if I could ask for that, that would be super helpful. But I'm really looking forward to participating. I joined the North Coast Resource Partnership's quarterly meeting this past week. The North Coast Resource Partnership is a collaborative group amongst the North Coast region, tribes, local jurisdictions, really focused on watershed health and projects that support healthy watersheds in whatever way, shape, or form that happens. So there's a lot of Proposition 1 funds for water projects, et cetera, that come through there. So I just wanted to kind of check in and hear about some of the opportunities coming up, because the state really was pretty flush with funds for some new projects that I think will affect our region a lot, if not our city directly. So, when we think about climate change and drought and wildfire resiliency. And, those are a lot of the funds that I think will be administered through the resource partnership in some way, or there will be technical assistance through that partnership. And so I wanted to hear what they're doing. And so I was not at all surprised to hear that there are plentiful funds coming for those exact projects to our region. So that gave me this feeling of hope also. I don't know about y'all, but I've felt some ups and downs with my sense of hope when I think about the wildfire impacts and the drought impacts and some of the just feeling like the things that make living here amazing are at risk. And so that gave me a good sense that at least the state is being responsive and our region has a mechanism to respond. So I also joined the, for those of you who aren't currently on their mailing list, the Equity Alliance of the North Coast is a pretty cool opportunity for convening every month around equity issues and inclusion. And this last month they hosted Queer Humboldt, and it was a fantastic kind of learning and listening session that was centered around queer identified folks in the community. And there was a lot of like definitions and like how to update your sense of language to recognize like how people feel most comfortable. And it was a great like learning opportunity for a lot of people that participated. They were like unafraid to ask questions about like how do I ask this, or how do I say this, or how do I refer to someone respectfully. So it's cool to see people in our community who were like new to the topic engaging around it. And I definitely learned some things as well. And Queer Humboldt's an awesome organization. They've gotten kind of grounded again with some folks who are really advocating for the needs of the queer community. And it's really great to see. I think that's, other than that, I've done my usual, commitments as a council person. And the Humboldt Transit Authority meeting will be early next month, and the Humboldt County Association of Governments meeting, which our mayor is our representative to, but I also am another voice there because I represent HTA there. So we often end up talking about some things that are related to Eureka in addition to me talking about transit. So that will be this week on Thursday at 4.
And I want to thank Councilmember Burgell for filling in for me as my alternative this week because I'm going to be doing the conference. And I know Councilmember Castellano has something else, but I want to make sure you're all done.
I'm good. Thank you.
Thanks. Councilmember Castellano.
Sorry, I was so thrown off that we were already at this point in the agenda that I forgot to mention that along with Robin Prasker, I'm co-hosting a Wabash cleanup when Councilmember Moulton was talking, I was like, oh, we have rivaling cleanups happening. So come either, if you live near Wabash, come to the Wabash cleanup in front of Express personnel. And if you live near Councilmember Moulton, go to that cleanup and we'll see who cleans up the most. And then I was also gonna say, I have been working just a little bit on the economic summit in terms of some of the arts related opportunities that are happening there, and there's going to be a great conversation of regional arts leaders, and then another conversation specifically around equity in the arts. So if you're interested in the arts and their relationship to economic development, those will be fun sessions to attend. But there's so many good sessions, and thank you, Mayor Seaman, you've put tremendous work into this. So I just appreciate your leadership in this symposium.
Thank you very much.
What time is the Wabash cleanup? I missed that.
Because I didn't tell you. It's from 9:30 till 12. So we found that we were kind of rushed when we were doing it before. So we're just going to do it longer. You don't have to stay the whole time. You can come for part of it, or you can stay for the entirety.
Nice. And this is where I would let everybody go, but I was also reminded after hearing everybody talk about so many things about Eureka High School, and that I'm also on that 2x2. And one of the things we talked about was the career tech ed programs that they have at Eureka High, which are pretty impressive, and a brand new internship program that's going to be happening at Zoe Barnum. So if you are interested in career tech ed, trades programs, auto shop, construction trades, they're really doing some magnificent things, and you might want to get in touch with them and learn more. And on my way out, I will say thank you to City Manager Slattery, who will also be presenting at the conference on childcare. So City of Eureka is going to be well represented, and we'll see you all there. Have a great night, you guys. Bye.
Good luck.
Thank you.